Hello guys, gals and non-binary pals, welcome back to Lotusbloom Gaming. Today is not a budget brew, today is one of my personal decks that I keep permanently since I built it. In fact, this is my very first commander. It has evolved over the years, but I thought I'd share a deck that I play regularly. So yeah, the link in the description will be the deck list. But it will evolve as new cards come out continuously. But let's talk about Kumena, Tyrant of Orazca. 1 green blue, already broken, for a legendary creature, Merfolk Shaman. It's a 2/4 that it says tap another untapped Merfolk you control. Kumena can't be blocked this turn. There's strategy 1, get in for commander damage. 2. Tap 3 untapped Merfolk you control to draw a card. Win con number 3, draw your deck. And finally, it keeps on giving, tap 5 untapped Merfolk you control, put a +1 counter on each Merfolk you control. Third win con, go wide, go big. Before I go into the actual deck and explain my deck, please subscribe to the channel. Discord is being set up as I have been unfortunately hacked and the old Discord is gone. So a new link will appear soon. And again, thank you to Magic Madhouse for sponsoring me. Use code LOTUS5 to get an additional 5% off your purchases. The link for the affiliate link will be in the description below. And I believe that as this rolls out, Assassin's Creed will be up on their website. So go check them out. So let's start with the crux of the deck, the creatures that make this work. This is a Kindred deck, so everything in here will be Merfolk or Merfolk adjacent. We start off with Deeproot Elite for 1 and a green, which is a Merfolk warrior, and it states that whenever a Merfolk enters the battlefield under control, put a +1 counter on target Merfolk you control. So again, working with our commander's third ability, this is amazing. Deeproot Historian is 3 and a green for a 3/3 that Merfolk and Druid cards in your graveyard have retrace. This is insane. We can now recur in blue and green all our Merfolk as long as we stick this and keep it, but that's insane. Emperor Milhail II, 1 blue for a legendary creature Merfolk. I'm just going to say they're legendary or not, because they're all Merfolk except the odd occasion. It's a 3/3. I can look at the top card of my library at any turn, and I can cast Merfolk spells from the top of our library. And whenever we cast a Merfolk spell, you may pay a colourless or a generic. If you do, create a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token. So this will also count for some of those typal spells and enchantments that we'll see soon. 3 blue for Empress Galena, a legendary creature. Blue, tap, gain control of target legendary permanent. That's it. Not till end of turn, but we can just steal people's commanders or legendary creatures or legendary artifacts permanently. And yes, you might wonder why there's the odd templating of some of these cards, but these are the physical cards I own for the deck. I thought, as a creator, I might as well show you what I've spent over since, what was it, Ixalan, the original Ixalan, making my personal deck look pretty. We have Hackbow of the Surging Soul, 2 green-blue, another new Merfolk. Legendary creature 3/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each Merfolk creature you control explores. And whenever Hackbow of the Surging Soul attacks, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you don't, draw a card. I can't explain how good that card is as a commander. In the 99, it is just as powerful with Kumena. I just can't take myself from losing my primary commander that I built very first. And to be honest, he's like a mini planeswalker. Herald of the Secret Streams, 3 and a blue. Creatures control with a +1 counter and can't be blocked. Very good at supporting our third strategy of adding +1 counters to everything. Chorus follower, green and a blue, to tap to untap another target permanent. Kapala, Warden of the Waves, 1 blue for a legendary. Spells your opponents cast that target a merfolk you control cost 2 more to cast. And abilities opponents activate that target a merfolk you control cost 2 more to activate, sorry. So this is kind of better than Ward, because you have to pay it regardless if the spell is uncounterable. Lord of Atlantis, double blue. Other merfolk get +1/+1 and have Island Walk. I haven't been managed to get the Harbinger that gives all your non-basics, turn them into islands, but this will go in hand with this card. But even without it, the amount of islands that people play, this does work. Lolmentor Mage is 1 blue for a 2/2, and this is part of a, let's say, 8 card combo. So whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may put a 1/1 blue merfolk creature token onto the battlefield. Pretty good. Tap 7 untapped merfolk you control to counter target spell. So you get your 7 merfolk, but you pair this with Intruder Alarm, and then you can counter everything as long as they don't respond to the trigger of untapping. But essentially it makes it super hard for them to react, and you can lock quite a lot out the game. Master of the Pearl Trident, double blue. Other merfolk you control have +1/+1 and Island Walk. Merfolk Mistbinder, green and blue. Other merfolk you control get +1/+1. Again, just buffing our team, ready for the go wide, go tall strategy. Merfolk Sovereign, 1 blue. Other merfolk creatures you control get +1/+1, and target merfolk creature can't be blocked this turn. Merfolk Trickster, double blue, flash. When Merfolk Trickster enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls, it loses all abilities to end of turn. This is a very good, for example, the way I've used this before was someone flashed in a Blightsteel Colossus, tried to kill me with Infect, and I flashed this in and it lost all of its abilities. So, yeah, it's a pretty good card. Mero Regery, 2 and a blue. Other merfolk get +1/+1, and whenever you cast a merfolk spell, you may tap or untap target permanent. This card is the biggest help to the second win con strategy, which is drawing your deck. So cast a merfolk, untap a permanent like Lotus Field, or any mana rock, or anything that produces more than 1 mana. So you just keep rolling through your deck, untapping permanents, keep going, drawing cards. Metallic Mimic is 2 generic. As it enters, we choose a creature type, so we choose Merfolk. It is a Merfolk in addition to its other types, and each creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Mist Dancer is another new card which is just phenomenal. 4 and a blue, pretty pricey for a merfolk, but it has flying and it gives all merfolk that we control +1/+0 and flying. That is insane. Flying fish are beautiful. Mistcaller, single blue 1/1. We can sacrifice Mistcaller until end of turn. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. So many people have been caught out by this. Realm Walker, 2 and a green. This card goes in every type or deck. Changeling, so it's a merfolk. As it enters, we choose merfolk. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may cast, in this case, merfolk spells of the chosen type from the top of your library. Sage of Fables, 2 and a blue. Each other wizard creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Quite a lot of merfolk are wizards, however, the third ability on our commander adds +1 counters to all merfolk, and the second ability on this card is pay 2 generic, remove a +1 counter from a creature to draw a card. It's good in both aspects. Seafloor Oracle, 2 blue for a 2/3. Whenever a merfolk you control does combat damage to a player, draw a card. That's each merfolk. It's such a good card. Sea Hunter, probably one of the very few non-merfolk in the deck. 2 blue for a human mercenary. 3 and tap. Search your library for a merfolk card. That is important because there are cards in here that are merfolk that are not creatures. And put that card into play. Then shuffle your library. Seedborn Muse, 3 green for a 2/4 spirit. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. I know this is not a merfolk, but when your commander says tap merfolk to draw a card, you're going to be drawing multiple cards in everyone's end step. Sigil Tracer, 1 blue for a merfolk wizard. 1 and blue, tap 2 untap wizards you control to copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So many times someone cyclonic rifts and you make a copy and just return it back. So many times someone wants to kill something and you feel left out, so you copy it and kill something else. This is such a good card. Singer of Swift Rivers, 1 green for a new card. It's a Merfolk Shaman, 3/2 flash. When it enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on another target creature you control. If you you may cast Merfolk spells as long as they had flash. Again, with Seedborn Muse untapping all of our mana each turn, we can flash in Merfolk in response to the board state. Stony Brook Baronet, 1 and a blue for a Merfolk wizard with Island Walk. Merfolk spells and wizard spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This is just a great card, just making your Merfolk cheaper. Surge Spanner, 2 blue for a Merfolk wizard. Whenever it becomes tapped, you may pay 1 and blue. If you do, return target permanent to its owner's hand. So we could tap this for any of the abilities on our commander. We can do it when attacking, and then we can return permanents to their owner's hand, or even return something we want to get another ETB trigger or cast trigger. Selvin of Sea and Sky, 1 blue for a legendary Merfolk god. It has indestructible as long as you control at least 2 other Merfolk. When it attacks, we draw a card, and other Merfolk have ward 1. There's so many little bits on here that add up to 1 great card in a package. Thassa's Oracle. I hear the groans. But we don't have a way of instantly picking up our deck and winning. And it is a Merfolk. So ideally, it's the deck it should be in. But we can draw so many cards, and there is so many blue pips on all of our creatures, that we could legitimately win without any trickery. We are literally using our commander's second ability, tap 3 Merfolk, draw a card, continuously. We could just play this mid-game and seal the victory. If we don't, it is still a Merfolk, it will still trigger everything else, and it will get us great card selection in the future. Thassa, God of the Sea, 2 and a blue. It's a legendary enchantment creature god. Not a Merfolk, but it fits. Indestructible 5/5. As long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, it isn't a creature, but at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. That's already good. 1 and a blue, target creature control can't be blocked this turn. That's what we're using it for, the scrying and creatures can't be blocked for 2 mana. Tributary Instructor, 3 and a green for a Shaman Merfolk. It has Mentor, and whenever a creature control of a +1 counter on it dies, draw a card. So in response to a board wipe, we can tap our 5 Merfolk to put a +1 counter on all Merfolk, which will then draw us a load of cards and then get us set up for rebuilding our board extremely quickly. True Name Nemesis, 1 blue. As it enters the battlefield, choose a player, normally the most problematic one on the table. True Name Nemesis has protection from the chosen player. We can just keep putting +1 counters on this and chipping them down, blocking their creatures, and generally be a really big nuisance to them. And the final two creatures are Vordelian Hexcatcher, 1 and a blue. It has flash, and other merfolk get +1/+1. But we can sacrifice a merfolk, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. With the amount of generation of tokens and merfolk we make, we can keep sacrificing until they run out of mana until we think it's worth it or safe. Wanderwine Prophets, an expensive one at 6 mana, 4 blue. Champion a merfolk, so when it comes into play, sacrifice it unless you remove another merfolk you control from the game. When this leaves play, return the card back to play. But whenever Wanderwine Prophets deals combat damage to a player, we can sacrifice a merfolk. If you do, take an extra turn after this one. Well, that can be very easily done. With the amount of token generation we have, with the amount of go wide strategies we've got, we could generally just take a lot of turns, which is enough to kill our opponents. Now we go on to the enchantments, which make the deck even more potent. So Deeproot Pilgrimage is one of the new cards, and this just makes Wanderwine Prophets especially busted, but the commander go absolutely insane. It's a 1 and a blue enchantment. Whenever one or more non-token merfolk you control become tapped, create a 1/1 blue merfolk creature token with hexproof. So we attack with Wanderwine Prophet, we make a token, we sack the token, we get an extra turn, we make it unblockable, we attack, we make a token. It's infinite combat damage as long as they don't deal with either or. Also, every ability on a commander, this gives us a merfolk to make more abilities in the future. When we tap a permanent and we've got Intruder Alarm, that goes infinite with a ham sandwich though, but this just makes your deck go bonkers. Deeproot Waters, 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a merfolk spell, create a 1/1 blue merfolk with hexproof. More token generation. Doubling Season. If an effect would create 1 or more tokens, it creates twice that many because we weren't making enough, and if an effect would put 1 more counters on a permanent, put twice as many because we're not adding as many counters as we want. You can see why Kumena is the best commander for this deck. Guardian Project, 1 and a green. If we weren't drawing enough cards, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control and it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control, or be in a commander deck, because that's generally what it is, draw a card. Hardened Scales to make our counters even more potent. Intruder Alarm, like I said, goes infinite with the counter spell merfolk, with Wanderwine Prophets and the other enchantment. We have Kindred Discovery, 3 blue. We choose merfolk. Whenever a creature control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. This is why Thassa's Oracle is a fair win con in this deck. We are literally drawing our cards for playing the deck, not by playing Doomsday or any sort of cheap win con to get there in 2 turns. We are drawing so many cards. Lay Live Anticipation, because casting in someone's end step and having our turn be their turn and their turn be our turn is amazing. Mero Commerce, again, it's a typal kindred enchantment, merfolk, so we can get this with the Merfolk Hunter, because it's a merfolk card. At the end of your turn, untap all merfolk you control, so whatever we do, as long as we've got this out, we're reset back for defending. Reflections of Litjara, 4 and a blue, another card that we choose merfolk as it enters. Whenever we cast a spell of the chosen type, copy the spell. Double merfolk. Simic Ascendancy, a sneaky win con that's not our commander. Green and a blue enchantment. 1 green blue, put a +1 counter on target creature control. To be honest, I've never done that. Whenever 1 or more +1 counters are put on a creature control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. The last ability of a commander is tap 5 merfolk, put a +1 counter on every merfolk. This is literally 4-turn win. We'll go into some of the instants to protect and enhance our deck. Aetherize, 3 and a blue, return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. If we're going to get Alpha Striked, great response. If someone's going to settle the wreckage and exile all our merfolk, we return our merfolk to our hand, saving us as well. It can be used in both aspects. Barrier Breach, I love this card. It's such an underrated card. 2 and a green, instant, exile up to 3 target enchantments or cycle it if you don't need it. I just love it. 3 enchantments, someone plays a land tax, a smothering tithe, a Rhystic Study, all gone for 3 mana. And then you've got things like Beast Within, 2 and a green, same mana cost as Barrier Breach, but destroy target permanent. Can't be beaten for any permanent. But you can see why I like Barrier Breach so much. It's restricted to enchantments, but it's 3. We have good old Cyclonic Rift. I have cast it for both modes. Someone was going to Alpha Strike me with a commander, so I bounced just the commander. I didn't want to reset the game. It was just that one card that was problematic. But overloading it to return all permanents to their hand for our opponents is brutal, especially if we're going to win. Fierce Guardianship, catch him out with a free counterspell. Legolas's Quick Reflexes, one of the new cards from Lord of the Rings. It's a single green for a split second card. I love split second. Untap target creature until end of turn. It gains hexproof reach, and whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals damage equal to its power up to 1 target creature. Our commander lets us tap any creature we want. We can tap 1, 3 or 5 creatures at an instant speed as long as they're untapped. This is such a good card. Quandrix Command, 1 green blue. Instant, choose 2, return target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Target player shuffles up to 3 target cards from their graveyard into their library. So many abilities on there are so good. We can return a problematic creature or planeswalker, or we can save one of ours. We can counter an artifact or enchantment spell. We can make our team bigger, or we can save 3 cards from our graveyard, or get rid of something that's about to be reanimated. Rapid Hybridization, single blue for a destroy a creature. Can't be regenerated, sometimes you just want to run something to blow up a creature. And Ripples of Potential, 1 and a blue, it's a new card, it's an instant. Proliferate, when you choose any number of permanents you control that had a counter put on them this way, those permanents phase out. A great way to save our board from board wipes. Tap 5 merfolk, put a +1 counter on everything, play this, phase them all out. We only run 2 sorceries because most of the stuff I like doing is at instant speed or in response. Kadama's Reach, it's good for land ramp, and Ponder because it's got merfolk on it. And the original art with the original Lorwyn merfolk is the only one with merfolk on it that I can find. So there we go. So now we go into the artifact section. Ether Vial, because most of the deck is 3 CMC. Sorry. 3 mana. Ether Vial is a single colourless or generic. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on Ether Vial. Tap. You may put a creature card with mana equal to the number of charge counters on Ether Vial from your hand onto the battlefield. So we build it up to 3, tap it, put a 3-cost merfolk into play at instant speed. Arcane Signet to just make sure we've got both colours. Soul Ring because our commander will be removed and we want to pay the tax a little bit easier. The Great Henge because it's going to cost a lot less than 7 green because it costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures we control. We're going to make our creatures pretty big. But it adds double green and gains us 2 life, and whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, put a +1 counter on it and draw a card. That magic 3 words, draw a card. The Ozolith, 1 generic, legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature. With the amount of counters we put on it due to our commander, this is very handy. Vidalcanori, 4 mana, for an artifact that says you may cast spells as though they had flash. This is redundancy for the Leyline of Anticipation and our merfolk that does it, but having multiple ways to do it is amazing. So now we go into the mana base. Alchemist Refuge. Again, another redundancy. You may cast spells this turn as though they had flash. Boseiju, who endures. Taps a green, but we can channel it by paying 1 and a green. Discard it. It destroys an artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. They may search their library for a land with a basic land type, and this ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature we control. 2 mana, blow up an artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land, and the only way to stop it is by stifling it. I think this is a very good card. Breeding Pool for both colours. Cavernous Souls to make our merfolk uncounterable. Command Tower, again, for our colours. Hinterland Harbour for our colours. Lotus Field, like I said, with Mirror Regery, we untap this, we make 3 mana. Cast a merfolk that is generally 3 mana. Untap this, make 3 mana. This makes Mirror Regery go off and draw more cards. Misty Rainforest to get the lands that we're missing if we are missing a colour. Path of Ancestry. Gives us both of our colours, but if we do it to cast a creature, we can scry one. Prismatic Vista. It's just getting our basic of the one that we're missing. Requellery Tower. No maximum hand size. The amount of cards we're drawing, we're gonna need this. Secluded Courtyard is just another adds 1 of any mana to cast the creatures of the chosen type, or any abilities. Shifting Woodland is a new introduction to this deck. It enters the battlefield tapped unless we control a forest. It's pretty likely. It adds green, and for Delirium, 2 green, Shifting Woodland becomes a copy of target permanent card in your graveyard till end of turn. Activate only if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. So, that card that has Retrace, if that gets killed, we can use Shifting Woodland to become a copy of it, discard a land to recast it, so we can then recast the rest of our merfolk from our graveyard. Beautiful card. Simic Growth Chamber. Again, it taps for 2 mana, so we can use the Mirror Regery to untap this to add both of our colours. Tropical Island. I am blessed that I managed to save up for 6 months to get one. I'm not saying that this deck needs it. I'm probably going to say that a basic island would have done than this, but I saved up so much to get one that I'm not going to use it. Unclaimed Territory. Adds a colour of any colour to cast creatures. And Witch's Clinic. Target commander gains lifelink till end of turn. We don't have a lot of lifelink. In fact, we have the Great Henge and this. Just a little bit of life gain sometimes is enough to stabilise. And then we run 6 forests and 13 islands. We need some basics because Blood Moons exist, and now so does the merfolk that makes all non-basics islands. We're going to need to have our forests work for us. The upgrades that I'm looking to add to the deck is Finale of Devastation. I'm not sure if I will put it in, but to search a library and or graveyard for a creature card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield. If you search a library, we shuffle it. If X is 10 or more, creature control gain +X and gain haste till end of turn. They don't gain trample though, but most of them, if they have a +1/+1 counter, can't be blocked due to Herald of the Secret Streams, or have Island Walk. But I'm on the fence with this one. Force of Vigor is a tempting include to destroy up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments, but I'm kind of dabbling with keeping Barrier Breach because it's cheaper. This is free. My deck is mostly blue, and I don't have as much green to exile a card from my hand. It's kind of an if or not. I might try it. Forerunner of the Heralds, however, 3 and a green for a 3/2 Merfolk Scout. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a Merfolk card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top. Sounds dangerous putting it on top? Tap 3 Merfolk, draw a card. It's yours. Whenever another Merfolk enters the battlefield under control, put a +1 counter on Forerunner of the Heralds. This card didn't make the original cut because of the Sea Hunter, but I might make a spot for it, but then there's so many good Merfolks with the elite sets that it's difficult. Heroic Intervention is a card that I'm tempted, but I'm not quite positive yet. Growing Rights of Iklamok is a card that I do want to put in. I am lucky enough that I'm a judge and I do have this copy, but I'm wondering if it takes a land slot, because I'm already cutting it fine, but I'm struggling to take out something to put this in. But adding a green for each creature we control with Mirror Regery is just so much mana, but it's all green. That's the issue I've got with it. I'm still toying with the idea. I haven't put it in to test it, but as I say, these are upgrades that I'm looking to do. Lost in the Maze, it's X blue for flash. When it enters the battlefield, tap X target creature, put a stun counter on each of those creatures you don't control. Tap creatures you control have hexproof. That's permanent. Tap creatures you control have hexproof. I mean, someone targets something, we've got our commander, we tap it to give it unblockable, regardless if it's attacking or not. It's now got hexproof. This card, I believe, will go in. It's just, again, what do you take out when your deck is to a point you like? Merrow Harbinger, 3 and a blue for a 2/3 Merfolk Wizard with Island Walk. When it comes into play, search your library for a Merfolk card, reveal it, shuffle your library and put that card on top. This one may take place of the Herald because it goes for the card, not a creature. So I could get Merrow Commerce with this. Oko Threes of Crowns. It's an odd choice, but +1, target artifact or creature loses all abilities and becomes an elk. Problematic creature, it's problematic commander, it's an elk. It's not dead, it's not gone, it's an elk. They'd have to bounce it, return it, kill it. It's not my problem. It's a +1 to deal with a problematic creature. That's all I care about. Raid the Palisade, 4 and a blue for a sorcery. Quite expensive, but choose a creature type. Return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hands. If this was instant, that would replace Aetherize. However, I'm still on the fence with it, but it is a great upgrade. Roaming Throne, do I need to say more? 4 mana, 4/4 Golem, Ward 2. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Merfolk. Roaming Throne of the chosen type in addition to its other type, so it's a Merfolk Golem. If a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. I really need to look through my deck to see what this benefits, but it is a possible upgrade that I'm very seriously considering. And the last one, Harbinger of the Seas, 1 blue, non-basic lands or islands. This one I'm seriously considering when I can get hold of a copy. This will make my Island Walk beautiful. Everyone plays non-basic lands. Okay, 99% of people. If you're in a 2-colour deck, there's a command tower. If you're in a 3-colour deck, there's gonna be temples at the bare minimum. This card is insane. But what's your thoughts? Have you built Kumena or any Merfolk decks? As I say, this is my personal deck that I've been building since Ixalan came out and I first got into Commander. This deck has been through so many different iterations, so many upgrades. I've saved and saved for some of these cards, and I love this deck. And as it's my first ever deck, it's my pride and joy. So what would you change? I'd love to hear your thoughts, if what you think doesn't work in this deck or what you think of this deck. I've had this deck described to me as stopping me drawing cards is like stopping water with a fork. So it'd be nice to see what you thought. But otherwise, very much thank you to everybody. I know my schedule's not been the greatest due to my health problems. I'm hoping to get back on track, but I really got excited about showing you a non-budget deck that's my personal pride and joy, and had to do a video on it. But otherwise, thank you, and catch you on the next one.